17 things to never do in your cabin on a cruise in 2026. You'd think your cruise cabin is just a tiny hotel room on the ocean, but it's not. It's a floating safety zone with rules that can get you fined, embarrassed, or escorted to guest services before dinner. Every cruise, passengers do things in their cabins that seem harmless until alarms go off, neighbors complain, or security knocks on the door asking very uncomfortable questions. And the worst part? Most of these mistakes aren't written anywhere obvious. People only learn them after something goes wrong. So before you unpack, hang a towel, or plug something in, here are 17 things you should never do in your cruise cabin in 2026. Because some of these mistakes can end your cruise faster than seasickness. Number 1. Never assume your cabin is soundproof. This one gets people every single cruise. You close the door, you see walls, you think, cool, no one can hear this. Wrong. Very wrong. Cruise cabins are built tight, not thick. Sound travels through walls, ceilings, balconies, and even the hallway vents. That late-night phone call, the TV blasting at midnight, the argument you thought was quiet, or the laughing session that went on a little too long. Your neighbors can hear it, and here's where it gets awkward. People don't usually knock, they complain. That means guest services gets involved, and suddenly you're getting a courtesy call that doesn't feel very courteous. Best rule to follow. If you wouldn't want to hear it through a hotel wall at 1 a.m., don't do it in a cruise cabin. Because on a ship, privacy is an illusion, and thin walls have ears. Number 2. Never slam your cabin door or balcony door. This seems harmless. You're rushing, the ship rocks a little, the door swings, bang. No big deal, right? Except on a cruise ship. It kind of is. Cruise doors aren't normal doors. They're part of a pressure-controlled system designed to keep air moving correctly through the ship. When you slam them, especially balcony doors, you mess with seals, pressure, and sometimes even your own air conditioning. Ever notice how your cabin suddenly feels hot or your aircon just gives up? That's often because the system thinks your balcony door isn't properly closed, and on newer ships, it will literally shut itself off to protect the system. Congratulations, you just created your own personal sauna. Then there's the noise factor. Slamming doors echo a lot. Cabins are stacked like dominoes, and one hard slam can sound like a cannon going off down the hallway. Neighbors remember that. Crew remember that. And here's the part no one tells you. Repeated slamming can actually damage door seals. If that happens, guess who gets blamed? Hint, it's not the ocean. Close doors gently. Treat them like they cost more than your cruise fare, because technically, they do. Number 3. Never leave room service trays in the hallway overnight. Everyone does this once. You order room service, you eat in bed, life is good, and then you think, I'll just put the tray outside and they'll grab it. They won't. Not until morning. Overnight, that tray becomes a floating buffet for smells, spills, and whatever else happens to wander a cruise ship corridor at 2 a.m. By the time you wake up, the hallway smells like cold fries, mystery sauce, and regret. But here's the bigger issue. Hallways are emergency exits. Leaving trays, plates, and carts outside cabins is technically a safety problem. Crew notice it, and during busier sailings, they absolutely track repeat offenders. And if the ship hits rough seas overnight, that tray doesn't politely stay still. It slides, it tips, it spills. And suddenly there's food streaked down the hallway like a crime scene nobody wants to clean up. Best move, call room service and ask for pickup or bring the tray back inside until morning. Yes, it's mildly annoying. But it's a lot less annoying than being that cabin everyone talks about at breakfast. Number 4. Never let wet towels pile up on the cabin floor. This one sounds harmless, even responsible. I'll just put them here and deal with them later. Later comes fast, and it smells terrible. Cruise cabins are small, sealed, and humid by design. When wet towels sit on the floor, they don't dry, they ferment. Within hours, you get that damp, sour smell that sticks to the carpet, the curtains, and somehow your clothes too. And once that smell is in the cabin, you're not getting rid of it. Not with aircon, not with balcony air, not with denial. Housekeeping also notices immediately. Wet towel piles are one of the fastest ways to get flagged as a messy cabin, which means more frequent checks and less goodwill if you ever need a favor later in the cruise. Here's the smarter move. Hang towels properly, ask for extra hooks, or request fresh towels instead of trying to reuse ones that are already soaked. Crew are happy to swap them. They are not happy to fight mold growing in the carpet. It's a small habit that makes a huge difference, because once your cabin smells bad, it becomes your problem for the rest of the cruise. Number 5. Never leave the balcony door open while the air conditioning is running. This one feels sneaky, like you found a loophole. Fresh ocean air and cold air at the same time? Yeah, the ship hates that. Modern cruise ships use smart climate systems. The second they detect warm outside air mixing with cabin air, the system assumes something's wrong. So what does it do? It shuts your air conditioning down completely. And it doesn't always come back on right away. People think the AC is broken, call guest services, wait hours, only to be told, very politely, that the balcony door was left open and the system locked itself out. Sometimes it resets fast. Sometimes it doesn't. Either way, you've turned your cabin into a heat box. There's also moisture. Sea air carries humidity, and when that warm air hits cold surfaces inside the cabin, you get condensation. That's how carpets feel damp, windows fog up, and the cabin starts feeling sticky instead of refreshing. Rule of thumb: balcony door open or aircon on. Never both. Open the door, enjoy the breeze, then close it fully before turning the AC back on. Because nothing ruins a cruise mood faster than sweating in your own cabin while waiting for a reset that was completely avoidable. Number 6. Never unplug mystery switches, buttons, or cables in your cabin. This is where curiosity gets people in trouble. You spot a switch you didn't use, a cable you don't recognize, or a button that looks unnecessary, and your brain goes, "What does this do?" Bad question. Do not find out. Cruise cabins have hidden systems most people don't realize are there. Some switches control ventilation. Some link to lighting circuits. Some are tied to sensors that monitor airflow, balcony doors, or even emergency systems shared with nearby cabins. People unplug things thinking they're saving power, and suddenly their lights won't turn on, the bathroom fan stops working, or guest services is calling, asking if everything is okay in your cabin. And here's the awkward part. When something gets disconnected, the ship can usually see it. That means maintenance may show up, trace it back to your cabin, and gently explain that you shouldn't touch things that look unused. If it was plugged in when you arrived, leave it plugged in. If a switch doesn't seem to do anything, it's probably doing something you don't want to break. On a cruise ship, curiosity doesn't kill the cat, it kills the airflow. Number 7. Never bring magnetic hooks that scratch the cabin walls. This one's sneaky because you'll see it recommended everywhere. Magnetic hooks are one of the most popular cruise hacks. And yes, the walls are metal. But here's the part no one shows you in those videos. Not all cabin walls are the same. Some are painted steel, some are coated panels, and some have finishes that scratch ridiculously easily. Cheap magnets, strong neodymium hooks, or hooks that slide even a little can leave marks you won't notice until checkout day. And cruise lines absolutely check cabins after you leave. If they see scratches, chipped paint, or scuffed panels where magnets were placed, they don't argue about intent. They just charge for damage. And because it's cosmetic, it's almost never cheap. If you do use magnetic hooks, they need soft rubber backing, and they must be placed once and left alone. No sliding, no adjusting, no stacking heavy items like wet bags or backpacks. Better option? Ask your cabin steward for extra hooks or hangers. They'll often bring them without hesitation, and you won't spend the last day stressing over whether a magnet just cost you a surprise bill. Number 8. Never store luggage where it blocks cabin exits. This one feels picky until you understand why cruise lines care so much. Cruise cabins are designed with very specific exit paths. That tiny gap between the bed and the door, that's not bad design. That's the emergency route. When people shove suitcases there, stack bags by the door, or wedge luggage in front of closets, they're technically blocking an exit. And yes, that actually matters. During random safety checks, crew can flag cabins where exits are obstructed. Most of the time, you'll get a polite reminder. But if it keeps happening, guest services gets involved, and suddenly you're being told to rearrange your cabin like it's a fire drill. Here's the scarier part. If there were an emergency, rough seas, smoke, alarms, you don't want to be climbing over a suitcase in the dark. Cruise ships plan for panic, not perfect behavior. Best move: unpack quickly and slide empty suitcases fully under the bed. If they don't fit, Ask your steward, they can often store them for you. Because in a cruise cabin, floor space isn't just convenience, it's safety. And safety rules are the ones cruise lines never joke about. Number 9. Never assume "do not disturb" means no one will enter your cabin. This one surprises a lot of people, and honestly, it shouldn't. On a cruise ship, your cabin isn't just your private space. It's part of a safety system. That means there are situations where crew are allowed and required to enter, even if your "do not disturb" sign is up. If your cabin hasn't been accessed for a certain period of time, if housekeeping can't confirm you're okay, or if there's any system alert tied to your room, crew can do a welfare or safety check. And yes, this happens more often than people realize. This is why people come back to find towels swapped, bins emptied, or the bed adjusted and think, "Wait, I left the sign on." You did. It just didn't override safety protocol. It's also why you should never leave valuables out assuming no one will enter. Cabin staff are professional, but accidents happen, and cruise lines are very clear about responsibility. If you truly don't want entry, communicate directly with your steward. Let them know your schedule or request specific service times. That works far better than relying on a sign. Because on a ship, safety always outranks privacy. And the sign is a suggestion, not a force field. Number 10. Never ignore cabin rules on sea days. Sea days are when people get sloppy. Everyone's on board, nothing feels urgent, and the vibe turns into, "It's fine, no one's watching." That's exactly when they are. Sea days are prime time for cabin checks, safety walkthroughs, and quiet inspections. Crew aren't trying to ruin anyone's fun. They're checking for blocked exits, prohibited items, unsafe setups, and anything that could become a problem if the ship hit rough weather. This is when things like hidden power strips, cooking appliances, overloaded hooks, and balcony misuse get noticed. And once something is spotted, it's not a warning anymore. It's a rule enforcement. People are always shocked when they're told to remove something mid-cruise. But it was fine yesterday? Yes. Yesterday wasn't a full ship at sea with everyone bored and wandering. Sea days also mean more movement inside the ship. More vibration, more sway, more stress on cabin setups that were already questionable. What seemed stable at port can turn into a hazard fast. Best mindset, sea days are rule days. If you wouldn't want crew to see it, don't leave it set up. Because that's when your cabin gets the most attention. Number 11. Never bring surge protectors or extension cords into your cabin. This is one of the most common mistakes, and one of the fastest ways to get something confiscated. Cruise ships don't allow surge protectors or extension cords because of fire risk. The ship's electrical system is very different from a hotel's, and those devices can overload circuits or fail in ways that are dangerous at sea. People still bring them anyway. They assume, "I'll just use it quietly." That works, until a cabin inspection, a maintenance visit, or a steward spots it while cleaning. When that happens, the item isn't debated. It's removed. Sometimes you get it back at the end of the cruise. Sometimes you don't. Either way, you've now been flagged as someone ignoring cabin safety rules. And no, the "but it's cruise-approved" label from the internet doesn't save you. If it has surge protection or an extension cable, most cruise lines will still say no. What is allowed? Plain multi-USB chargers without surge protection, as long as they're low wattage and meet the ship's rules. Bottom line, if it looks like something you'd use in a home office, it probably doesn't belong in a cruise cabin. And fire safety is one rule cruise lines never bend on. Number 12. Never try to sneak a power strip past security. This is where people go from "oops" to "they definitely know." Passengers hide power strips in shoes, wrap them in clothes, tape cords, or pack them deep in checked luggage thinking they'll slip through. They don't. Cruise security has seen every version of this trick for years. Bags get scanned, items get flagged. And when a prohibited electrical item is found, it's not just taken away quietly. It's logged against your cabin. That means if there's any electrical issue later, guess whose room gets attention first? Some ships will hold the item until the end of the cruise. Others confiscate it completely. And a few lines now issue written warnings because sneaking items past security is treated differently than an honest mistake. There's also the embarrassment factor. Nothing kills embarkation excitement like being pulled aside while someone explains why your harmless strip isn't allowed. If you need more outlets, plan properly. Bring a cruise-approved USB hub or ask your steward for help. They often have solutions people don't know about. Because once you're flagged by security, you don't just disappear back into the crowd. You become memorable, and not in a good way. Number 13. Never cook, heat food, or use travel appliances in your cabin. People get creative on cruises, and that's exactly the problem. Kettles, hot plates, sandwich presses, air fryers, rice cookers. Yes, people bring them. Others try to heat food with coffee makers, hair dryers, or anything that gets warm and looks useful. Every single one of those is a fire risk. Cruise cabins are not built for cooking. The electrical load, ventilation, and surfaces are designed for safety, not food prep. That's why cruise lines are brutally strict about this rule. If heat is involved, it's almost always banned. And here's the part that surprises people. You don't have to start a fire to get in trouble. The smell alone can trigger an investigation. Burnt food odors travel fast through ship ventilation, and once crew track it back to your cabin, the conversation gets very serious very quickly. Best case? They confiscate the item. Worst case? You're fined or written up for a major safety violation. If you're hungry, order room service, hit the buffet, or grab food from the cafe. It's unlimited for a reason. Because on a cruise ship, cooking in your cabin isn't clever. It's one of the fastest ways to become that passenger everyone talks about. Number 14. Never smoke or vape in your cabin, not even once. This is where cruises stop being forgiving. People think one cigarette, one vape hit, or one quick puff won't matter. But cruise ship smoke detectors are extremely sensitive, far more sensitive than what you're used to at home or in hotels. If that detector goes off, it's not just your problem. Alarms trigger crew responses, sometimes security, and occasionally a full safety protocol depending on the ship. And once it's traced back to your cabin, there's no talking your way out of it. Fines can be brutal. We're talking hundreds to thousands of dollars instantly added to your onboard account. Some cruise lines also reserve the right to disembark passengers at the next port for repeat or serious violations. And vaping? Same rule, same consequences. The ship doesn't care if it's just vapor. Designated smoking areas exist for a reason. Step outside, go to the approved deck, and do it properly. Yes, it's less convenient, but it won't cost you half your cruise budget. Because on a cruise, smoking in your cabin isn't a small mistake. It's a line you really don't want to cross. Number 15. Never hang anything from the sprinkler head. This is one of the fastest ways to turn a calm cruise into absolute chaos. That little metal fitting on your ceiling is not a hook. It's a heat-activated fire suppression system, and it does not care that you were just trying to dry a swimsuit. People hang hats, towels, swimsuits, even decorations from sprinkler heads thinking, it's fine, it's sturdy. It is sturdy until it isn't. If a sprinkler head is damaged or triggered, it doesn't sprinkle politely. It dumps hundreds of liters of water in seconds. Not just in your cabin, sometimes in multiple cabins below you. Floors flood. Electronics get ruined. Luggage gets soaked. Neighbors lose their minds. And here's the part most people don't realize. If you caused it, you can be held financially responsible. That can mean thousands of dollars in damage charges, plus a very uncomfortable visit from ship security. Crew check sprinkler heads during inspections because this happens more than cruise lines like to admit. It's why they're so strict about it. Rule of thumb: if it's on the ceiling and looks important, don't touch it, ever. Number 16. Never throw food, drinks, or anything off your balcony. People do this thinking it's harmless. A chip, a bit of bread, some leftover drink. It's the ocean, it'll disappear. It doesn't. On a cruise ship, balconies are stacked. That means whatever you throw doesn't go down. It goes onto someone else's balcony, or worse, onto a deck below where people are walking, sunbathing, or eating. Crew take this very seriously. Food thrown overboard can attract birds, make decks slippery, and become a safety hazard fast. Drinks can splash onto passengers. Objects can injure someone below. And yes, people get caught. Between cameras, witnesses, and crew observation, balcony behavior is heavily monitored. When it's traced back to your cabin, you're looking at fines, warnings, or loss of balcony privileges. There's also the environmental side. Cruise lines are under strict rules about what goes into the ocean, but it was just food doesn't excuse it. If you don't want it, use the bin. Call for pickup. Bring it back inside. Just don't turn your balcony into a drop zone. Number 17. Never forget your cabin is not a hotel room. This is the mistake behind every single rule on this list. A cruise cabin looks like a hotel room, feels like a hotel room, and tricks your brain into thinking you can treat it like one. But it's not. It's a tightly controlled space on a moving ship connected to safety systems, fire systems, ventilation systems, and hundreds, sometimes thousands, of other cabins. Every small mistake adds up. A blocked exit, a tripped sensor, a damaged sprinkler, a smell that travels. One bad decision doesn't just affect you, it affects the people around you. That's why cruise rules feel stricter than hotels. It's not about being annoying. It's about preventing chaos in the middle of the ocean where help isn't 5 minutes away. Once you treat your cabin like what it really is, a shared safety environment, cruising becomes smoother, quieter, and way more enjoyable. And the funny part? The passengers who follow this rule are the ones who never end up at guest services explaining themselves.